Hello folks, I'm just out here on the roof having a good time, as you do. So I just wanted to talk about something that comes up a lot both in neoliberal and surprisingly in leftist circles. That is China's supposedly astronomical escape from poverty for basically every single person in China, as those two groups, well, not specifically those two groups, but the leftists who do say it and the neoliberals say. Well, if you're not from one of those two groups, you probably will not be very surprised to find that the statistics have been greatly manipulated by the Chinese government. Well, perhaps manipulation is the wrong word. I mean, they're not actually lying about it, they're just defining it in a way that makes themselves look as good as possible. It's kind of like what I explained in the video on my main channel about Visual Politics video on the Chile protests, and the way that the Chilean government defines income poverty in an extremely dishonest way, because they're not using these statistics to fight poverty, they're using them to try and make themselves look as good as possible. So yeah, China does the same thing. The fact that China claims that its poverty rate is only 1.7% should probably already be ringing alarm bells. The fact that neoliberals also claim China as some sort of incredible victory for themselves should also probably ring alarm bells, because, well, they are not exactly honest about their statistics either. But nevertheless, people fall for it. So, what is the supposed poverty line in terms of income in China? Well, according to the Chinese government, and as reported in Chinese state media, it is about $400 a year. Yes, I said a year. I did not say a month, I said a year. So, yeah. Does anyone actually think that's really the poverty line for the whole of China? If you do, you may have a little bit of brainworms. There's something going on there. I don't know what to tell you. Different governments tend to define poverty in very different ways. For example, in Argentina, there's like 5 different official definitions of poverty, and you'd be hard-pressed to find one that will put it lower than 30%. But that's because those who gather these statistics are relatively independent and a lot more honest in how they define it. It's not that Argentina is just this much poorer than China or Chile or these other countries that define their poverty in a way that allows it to be extremely low. It's just that those countries are totally bullshitting. I mean, the idea that China has progressed so amazingly over the last 30, 40 years, with socialism, with Chinese characteristics and all that, yet $400 a year is still the poverty line, and people can live a reasonably decent life on just more than $400 a year. Yeah, that's kind of incompatible. The other one that people like to use is the World Bank's $1.9 a day poverty line, which is basically the same thing. The idea of a world poverty line is just ludicrous as well, and pretty much meaningless, since in most places, not just in the world, but in China, you're not going to be able to get by on $1.9 a day without being in want for something or other. You're definitely going to be lacking in some of your basic human needs. Especially in China, where income inequality, especially regional income inequality, is so huge. Like, the difference between someone living in some rural backwater and a tier 1 city, what would be poverty in those different situations, is absolutely massive. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys beyond, take a look at how different governments define these sorts of statistics and judge for yourself whether they're reliable or not. Because, well, I really do not understand how anyone could look at a country which has a GDP per capita of about 8,000, I believe, claiming that it only has a 1.7% poverty rate, and not be, kind of like, what's going on here? This is clearly bullshit. And when you look at it, it clearly is. The strategy of the Chinese government here is to just hope that no one will actually look at how they define poverty, which, to be fair to them, it looks like most people don't do that. So it is working very well. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. I'm sorry if this hurts the feelings of some CCP fanboys out there. Oh, actually, no, I'm not at all. This is Empanada Report on the terrace that I apparently have now. Take a look at it. Holy shit, I am like bourgeois to the maximum, aren't I? So yeah, I apparently have this now, so for the next month or so before they kick me out of the country. So I might make more videos here, because it is kind of cool, but it's not very cool because I'm getting sunburned. But yeah, this is Empanada Report on the terrace, out.